Hi, everyone. I'm excited to share today's conversation with professional actor Chai Hansen. Chai stars in Netflix and Amazon Prime series alongside legends like Mark Wahlberg, Sissy Spacek, and J.K. Simmons. He stars in Play Dirty, Amazon Prime's latest release, now the #1 movie worldwide on Prime Video. In this interview, we dive into Chai's journey. We explore the neuroscience of acting, what happens inside an actor's brain, the power of improv, and the life lessons Chai has learned along the way. His advice isn't just for actors, it's for anyone who wants to grow, push past fear, and step into a bigger version of themselves. In fact, I was so inspired by our conversation that I signed up for an improv class myself. So without further ado, let's jump into this incredible conversation. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. I've been interested in how the arts specifically affect the brain and mental health and psychology. And I think worldwide there's a need for arts because there's so much potential for positive impact on the brain and mental health. I've looked into how acting affects the brain and how acting training can promote neural networks that are tied to empathy building and theory of mind and taking other people's perspectives. But then I also wanted to talk about like your process, because despite it having positive impacts, I would imagine that if you immerse yourself in roles that are challenging, it could help you gain perspectives of the characters that you are embodying. But at the same time, what are like some of the dark sides of that process?
I live and breathe this topic, so it's all I think about. Inversely, it can happen. Inversely, it can do the opposite as well
Mhm.
until you kind of process it. So, for example, I did another show at the end of last year where I played a character that was a victim and a perpetrator of domestic violence. So, yeah, it's kind of complex, but there was one week where we filmed uh, a lot of those scenes. So they just crammed them in one after the other. And I was just, that was the toughest week of my life because I had to get angry and then cry and then angry. It was very confronting, especially having to go through it myself and experience it, even though my mind knew that it was a performance and I was seeing that there was a camera crew in front of me and the director was kind of trying to mold the performance. So my brain knew that it was a performance, but my body didn't. So my body would go through the motions and actually create an adrenaline rush. And then I would have this kind of like an adrenaline spike crash where
Mhm.
when we finished that week, I I slept. I shit you not, I slept for like 2 or 3 days straight where I was just bed rotting. I didn't want to get out of bed. I was ordering Uber Eats and I just kind of slept and I couldn't do anything. I was so depressed. It kind of it took its toll on me. But then after, when I started to come out of it, I had the perspective that I kind of experienced, even though I didn't experience it, I kind of did. So I had the empathy around someone that went through that
Yeah.
in a weird sense.
Yeah.
I kind of felt sympathy towards someone that was caught in that they couldn't quite explain themselves and would revert to something that they knew without being able to express themselves properly or be or be understood. So they were misunderstood, and then I felt sorrow for them, and then I went through this again, and it was just like my brain just started to just try to make sense of people that went through that.
Yeah.
And I think it was a really good learning curve for someone that doesn't understand it,
Mm. Yeah.
you know, to walk a mile in their shoes type of thing.
Hmm.
So there might be a really good exercise one day for a husband and wife to portray each other.
That's,
If they're,
yeah,
you know,
that's a
if they're
really
like,
good idea. Yeah.
if they're like having issues or whatever, maybe, they they do a movie where they play each other and then they might start to really understand each other more. And then maybe there's some kind of world where there's a beautiful exercise in that.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Chai. Yeah, I have that part of marriage counseling where you have to role play the other
Yeah.
person to gain their
But actually
perspective.
go there, like really, really go there, not just
Yeah.
like role play.
Yeah.
Actually play.
Yeah, yeah. Write the lines and everything and immerse
Mm,
themselves in the character of their spouse. When you talked about your role in that difficult show, it took some time for you to like recover from that. It almost seems like the when I think about the stress response in the nervous system, you have this fight or flight response, and then you have to recover from that. So you completed the stress cycle by basically your body resting and shutting down for a few days. And then you were able to
mm.
process the psychology of the role that you played. Would you say that you understood that role more as you were developing the characters, like immersing yourself in the character, or would you say that you understood more after the project was complete?
I did a lot of work on that character leading up to that point. So I was trying to really get into the mind of him but then you never know what happens until the day because the director might be like, "Oh, I don't want to do this. I want to do this now." And then they might cut it, so then it changes. So sometimes if you cut a scene, just one scene can change the entire trajectory of a character's development. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, it can get quite messy. Um, so I had a preconceived notion of what it was until I filmed it, and then when I filmed it, I was a bit more humbled by what he was going through. And then I think after it was when I truly was able to process what it was. But then that's different to I haven't seen it properly yet. So I haven't seen it play out. It might be completely different after seeing it to how I experienced it. And that
Hmm.
can happen as well. But
Hmm.
I think after when I've gone through the physiological responses and then rested and then was able to truly process it. I think that was when I was able to understand it more.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's like it's fully integrated within your
Yeah.
psyche.
It took me about 3 weeks after I got home that I needed to fully shake off the energy and how tired I was so incredibly exhausted emotionally and mentally that it took me 3 weeks to even be able to read anything again. Because my agent sent me another audition for something. It was like a week and a half after I got home, and I went to look at the script, and I just couldn't even read the first word. I was just like, nah, I can't do it. So I had to email them and say I'm going to pass on this because I genuinely cannot input any more information. It was that intense. So I actually had a proper come down from something that was truly affecting, like it really affected me.
Yeah.
I found that was really interesting. I did another show years ago where it was pretty dark, where I it was fantasy though. It was dark where I had killed my parents under a spell or something. So, I went through that a lot, but I didn't quite, and that was early on in my career, so I didn't quite understand the depths of acting back then and what it really meant to be an actor. So I think I didn't dive as deep into that back then as I did with this one. So this one affected me more than anything I think I've done, including
Yeah.
apple cider vinegar.
Oh, wow. What is
Yeah.
this called? I'm intrigued now.
It's called Watching You. It's
Okay.
called what? Yeah.
Okay. I'll put that on my bucket list too.
About a psychopath who installs hidden cameras in Airbnbs and to watch people have sex.
Oh my gosh.
And and initially, um, everyone thinks it's me or something like that. It's very there's a lot of doubt that plays out, and then my partner falls victim to his emotional abuse, and
Oh,
then cheats on me, and then I find out, and then there's this spiraling that happens.
oof. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds really heavy.
Yeah, it's really heavy. It felt so real to me that I went through it, that I connected it to as Chai was going through it. So it felt so visceral, like I was just caught in this bad dream and then I couldn't escape and then I had to crawl my way out of it. And it was like spoke to every fear that I had where everyone was watching me and it kind of dug out my insecurities and like all my fears at once. And I think because it became so vulnerable and became so vulnerable from it, it tapped into something different for me. I think that's what it really means to do like to really go the extra mile as an actor rather than just kind of playing at surface level and just ringing it in. It might have been healthier for me to do it to do it like that. But I wouldn't have experienced um I wouldn't have experienced the depth of it, which I think gives me an extra added uh element of understanding. Like in a weird sense, it healed me
Mm, mm.
where I was like, I've already gone through it now. So maybe I know how to kind of navigate that in future if anything like that happens. Not
Oh
that
yeah.
that particular thing is going to happen, but some down the line maybe with where there's a bit of doubt that plays where people a lot of people doubt me and maybe if I go through some kind of where my wife has an affair on me or something like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like
that makes sense. You could
like a
like
little
apply.
experience pre-experience that I can kind of be prepared for if if something like that happens.
Yeah,
I
kind of
don't
like been there, done that.
Yeah,
It was a role, but like you delved so deeply in that role that you experienced it, so that you
yeah.
know you kind of learned from that experience, even though it was a movie or a
Mm.
series.
Like I learned something about myself having gone through it. A lot of what I do when I'm acting, I tap into the flow state, which is just like I do my work, I prep, I know exactly kind of like a guideline of a blueprint of what the scene is gonna look like. But then when you do it, you kind of just succumb to the universe and just let go and then whatever comes out comes out. And you just live in the moment. And so a lot of the times you get into what a lot of people call flow state. And when I get into flow state, it's just my subconscious coming out with the blueprint that I kind of had in mind with
Hmm.
uh so I'm tapping into something that's more intelligent than my just surface being.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to explain. So anyway, I think because I tapped into the flow state, I kind of saw how and learnt how I would cope with a situation like that. I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of it is just kind of putting people through those motions where this is the scenario, do it.
Yeah.
And and then you kind of go, oh shit, okay, so if that happened, then this happened, and this happened. And so it's a deeper way of understanding something by actually just going there.
Right.
You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting that you talk about the flow state. It reminds me of some studies where they measured people in flow state and like parts of the brain that are involved in like they call it self-referential thinking, which is like focusing on self, those regions of the brain shut down. But then also when actors are performing a scene, um, they did studies that show like the same parts of the brain and shut down. So like parts of your self actually shut down when you are in flow state and when you are also acting. So like it's interesting how you uh, tied those two together, and that makes sense neuroscientifically. And then that when you shut yourself off, you have access to, like, I'm a spiritual person, so I always feel like when you shut yourself off, when you're not so focused on yourself, like you have access to the God state. I call it the God state. Um, and
I
so
would
that,
say too.
yeah. And then you're able to access not only that flow state, but also really, really put yourself in another person's shoes because you basically shut off yourself and the other person, the role
Mm.
that you're playing comes online. That's interesting.
It
So,
it kind of eliminates identity as well in a weird sense because like
yeah,
myself, I kind of put myself in, well, actually everyone does this where they put themselves in like an identity box. It's like, oh, I wouldn't do this,
yeah,
or I wouldn't say this. But then when you put into a scenario where your character does something really extreme, uh, you have to go and do that, which is so against what you would do or say.
yeah, right.
So it smashes the boundary of your identity. And so you learn something that you might never have done or thought about without having done that. So for example, there's one scene where my character sees this guy and he yells out to him and starts just in front of 200 extras. We're at a funeral and I just shout at some, and I walk towards him and I'm just swearing at him, and then I confront him, and then he says something to me, and I don't take it, and I just punch him, and then there's this like
Yeah,
this fight.
yeah,
Uh, I would never do that. Chai would never do anything like that.
yeah,
So I had to kind of break my boundaries to kind of make that real, where I would do that and
right.
not make it as like a performance, as something that I actually you would believe that Chai would go and do that. So I had to kind of figure out a way to let go and just do that.
Hmm.
So to get into that, I had to go into flow state and just really hone in on my anger.
Yeah. Ooh.
And and yeah, there's, I had to do a little bit of substitution there because I have a little bit of like an unresolved um relationship with my father. And so yeah, there's a lot of coinciding things there where I learned a lot about myself in that role, having done those things, where I smashed my identity, the boundaries of my identity.
Mm.
You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah. Would you say that helped you resolve or at least process some of those, issues that you've had in your personal life? Or
I think it does. Yeah. I think there's a lot to say in terms of how cathartic uh and and an oddly healthy release of that energy, even though it's deemed in a negative context,
Mhm.
but it's in a contained environment where everyone understands what's going to happen and you kind of let it out
Yeah,
how it's intended.
it's
Yeah, because
cathartic.
some people would would go to the gym and punch a punching bag, and it's kind of a similar thing where you're just letting out your rage or aggression onto a physical thing and it's letting it out.
Yeah.
Where this is more of a verbal release. Oh, actually, and a physical because yeah, we did the fight scene, but uh,
Hopefully,
oh,
you didn't actually punch, was it like a
I
scripted
actually
punch?
there was one take, Josh, he's a phenomenal actor as well. And I said to him prior to the take, um, I was like, "You're okay if we go there, right? I'm gonna go there." And he's like, "I want you to go there. I want you to. I'm gonna go there." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
good. Just I'm gonna apologize now, do the scene, and then I'm gonna apologize again after, and just know that it's not me."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, no, 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 go there, go there." So we were both on the same page, and he's fantastic. He's such an incredible actor. Um, there was one take though where I got a little bit too into it, and I accidentally punched him in the face.
Oh no.
I know.
Get a bloody nose?
He bled from his tooth. It was
Oh no.
felt so bad in the moment too. I was like, "Oh God, what?"
Oh God.
But it was because when I went to punch, he ducked into my punch, so it was like
Yeah.
a just a unlucky situation. But he's got a really hard head, so it really
Oh
hurt
God.
my.
I've heard that like punching people in the face is actually very painful for the puncher too.
Yeah, yeah, I learned that. Learned that.
It is interesting that you talked about how cathartic it is to like emote these emotions where like in civilized society it's not very, it's taboo to
Mm,
express those sorts of emotions like anger. There was a study that I found that a group of people were exposed to disgusting stimuli. So they were split up into two groups. The first group was told, don't display your emotions. Do not display on your face that you are disgusted. You have to be very neutral. And then the second group was allowed to express their emotions as freely as they wanted to. And the first group showed signs of higher stress response internally than the second group. So it's like literally stress gets stuck inside the body when people are not able to express their
express.
emotions. Yeah. So, and then that ties into actors in general tend to be better at emotional regulation, emotional expression, because that's their job. And
Mm.
so I wonder if you and your colleagues are better able to deal with the stress response because you're able to play these roles that that demonstrate emotions that in general people feel like they have to suppress.
I had this conversation just recently, actually, with someone about where I would have been if I didn't have free reign of emotional expression. Maybe on a construction site where it's like there's like a macho.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to generalize because maybe they're progressive these days. Maybe there's maybe there's construction sites where everyone's like, "Come and cry my shoulder, man." Like that would be fucking awesome. If I didn't pursue this, I think I would be so. What's the opposite of progressive? Digressed.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
be. I wouldn't be as far along in my emotional progression or journey,
Mm. Like emotionally intelligent.
emotionally intelligent than if I did acting. I think
Yeah.
this has taught me a lot about um, the human struggle down to experiencing it,
Yeah.
not just reading about it, actually walking in the shoes and seeing what plays out hit you,
Mhm.
even how you're getting talked to by the character, and so it validates your feeling. It's like reading a book, but physicalized
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
sense,
Yeah.
you know,
You,
where
yeah.
and I get the extra experience than so I'm luckier than an audience member that just gets to watch because I
Mm.
got to go through it as
Hmm.
well as watching it
Yeah.
and also reading it. So reading it, then having to figure out how to portray it, then going in and portraying it, and then sitting back and watching it. So
Yeah.
I've had three levels of learning about someone's story than just watching it,
Yeah, that makes
you know.
sense. It sounds like your process, like throughout the years of your acting, you feel like you've become more emotionally intelligent because you've literally had to embody and become the characters that you played. What actually brought you into acting, and why not another art form or another job? And w would you feel like it was your psychological disposition that actually got you into acting?
I don't think I was psychologically disposed. Is that the right saying? Like
Mm,
I didn't have the draw into acting to learn anything about psychology
mm,
or even understand the fundamentals of human psychology. I just wanted to do action movies and go and be like an action movie star and do something that was cool, you know?
yeah.
When I was a kid, I'd watch like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie uh with 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 my parents back then, and it was like, oh, that's freaking sick. That I wanted to watch every action movie under the sun. And I think growing up, I always had it in the back of my mind that that was something that I wanted to do, and never pursued it until I was 16 or 17. I started breakdancing, and that was kind of like a
Mm,
gateway into the arts. So I won this scholarship to a dance school, and at the dance school they had a acting teacher that come once a week and just taught us like an hour-long class of the basics of acting. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. And it just really intrigued me and how difficult it was. I just kind of took a shine to it, and I wanted to learn more about it. And then it just like one thing led to another.
mm,
And I just became obsessive. And once like I'm pretty obsessive. When I want to learn something, I don't stop. I just like that's all I want to do.
yeah,
And
you're
so that's what I
focused.
did. I didn't have any confidence when I was at school because you know, I was just like the very shy kid. And then I wanted more from myself. I don't know how to explain it, but I wanted to kind of I couldn't even do a speech in front of my class. I was like nervous. I was like shaking.
Yeah,
I was that introverted. And so I always thought acting was just like doing a speech until I started learning about what it was. And it was more about connecting to the human story rather than a performance. And it's not
yeah,
necessarily a performance. It's less of a performance than actually just telling a story. And then I just became obsessed with it to the point where I would just go home and just study. That's all I did. And I noticed some of the other kids in my class were like, oh yeah, they wanted to do acting as well, but they never pursued it in the way that I did. I was just like, I got any book under the sun that I could get my hands on. I was watching movies. I saved up to buy a camera where I was doing monologues in front of the camera in my room by myself.
yeah,
It was just obsessive. It was a bit too much, but it ended up taking me somewhere because people could see my work ethic.
yeah,
And so I didn't stop, and then it just kept building. And then after a couple of years of doing that, I became so comfortable in front of the camera because I was just doing it in my room. Uh, I got an audition, a self-tape for something, and then yeah, I did it really easily because I've just been doing it for a few years just in my room already.
yeah. You
Um,
got desensitized to the camera, so you're like, Psh, I got this.
and it is intimidating. It took me quite a quite a few years to get comfortable with the camera because there was something that just happened whenever you put a camera in front of you and then you press record, all of a sudden
Hmm.
something happens in switches a light switch in you to kind of seize up.
Yeah,
And I had to really like unlayer that. It still was there because when I went to film my first show, which was the I did a mermaid Disney show. I remember being as even when the camera was rolling on that, I was still kind of like, oh my God, the camera's rolling. And even though I had all those years of training with the camera in my room, that was different and again. And then so you had to desensitize again to a crew filming on a bigger camera, you know, more
Yeah,
expensive looking camera, and you're just like, oh God, that looks like it's
very
actually gonna
intimidating.
it's like a cannon. So there was a lot of work where I had to do where I had to confront my fears and just go, fuck it, just do it. Just grit and bear and then smile and just fucking do it. After a good decade of doing it, it's funny how easy I and comfortable I am in front of an audience now. Like I can just get up and do a speech if I know what I'm talking about. It
Yeah,
doesn't bother. I
that's
love it,
awesome.
in fact. But
Yeah.
but but my 16-year-old self would have been like, oh my God, I'm about to die.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though that you desensitized yourself by just exposing and yourself to that situation over and over and over again. And now it's fun for you because you're a master at that.
The past couple of months have been really, really tough for my family. My grandmother just passed away end of June.
So
And
sorry.
oh, thank you. No, yeah. It was really tough. It was really just seeing someone that has always kind of been there for me and watching her draw her last breath and just being there for her, guiding her through it was one of the most affecting things I think I've ever been through. Anyway, we had the funeral. My uncle, who was organizing the funeral, the service, was kind of asking anyone in the family, does anyone want to get up and do a eulogy? And said, if no one does, we can just get the funeral director to get up and say a few words. And I was like, no, no, no. One of us has to get up. I'm happy to get up. And no one in my family wanted to get up because everyone was so scared about speaking. They asked my mom, and they said, okay, so Chai's going to get up and speak. Does anybody else want to get up and speak? And so my mom was like, no, I'm not, I'm pretty, I don't know if I can do it. And so I had to coach my mum through this
Yeah.
because I've been doing this for so long. I actually even did a eulogy on apple cider vinegar, so I had practice.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I forgot how desensitized I was from this, watching my mum absolutely terrified of just getting up and speaking. And and she did anyway. She's like, I was standing
Oh,
next to
wow.
her
Yeah.
and she went after me. And she was phenomenal. She was so incredible. But yeah, it's interesting to see that how much acting has freed me from just being I don't even know how to explain this. Like I was just so comfortable in my skin that I don't mind getting up and speaking and doing this because it's taught me to just be comfortable in my skin more
Yeah.
than anything.
I've thought about taking an improv class just because
It's
like it seems like it
fun.
would be good public speaking practice. That's one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel was because I'm used to giving speeches in the medical world, like talking about science, but when it comes to like other aspects of my life, I'm a very shy person and it is like easy to talk one-on-one, but in front of people, like I had an experience when I was 15 years old. I was like, I really wanted to be part of a beauty pageant. And I was like, Mom, let's sign me up. And so I had to memorize like a 30-second speech. It was supposed to be super simple. And I was like practicing a lot. And then I got up on the stage and I saw how many people there were. There were like 500 people in the audience. And I just like I just froze. Like I couldn't talk. And it was so embarrassing. And so like that really stuck with me.
No, I had an experience similar to this, but I don't know. Mine would have been way worse than that. I promise you, yours would have been actually um, great compared to what I went through. I was 18. I was this host of this nightclub just around the corner from where I live right now, and I got approached by this event organizer that was doing this. It was like a beauty pageant thing. It was like a swimsuit model type thing where um, this bikini brand was advertising, their brand and whatever it was, and they wanted a an MC to get up and introduce all the sponsors and like all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
and read out the names and then I'd comment on whatever it was, right? And I said at the time I was like, yeah, all right, I'll do it, not thinking that I had was so out of my depth. So it was like the following day or like the following weekend or something. And so they came and picked me up. They took me to Ballina where it was where the event was. And they were like, okay, so here's the clipboard, Chai. So these are the sponsors. This is the order that the girls are going to be walking in. And I looked at the clipboard and I was like, oh shit. Oh my God, this is really I'm so out of my depth here. What am I going to say? And then
Yeah.
they were like, okay, Chai, you're up. And they handed me the mic. And as soon as I grabbed the mic, I walked up on stage and I froze. And I was shaking, I had the mic like this. And I was like, uh, hello, everybody. It was so,
Oh gosh.
and then, and then, um, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, I absolutely froze. I absolutely just got stopped in my tracks. And then the director came over and was like, Chai, you okay? And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're like, let me just, and then took the mic off me and grabbed the clipboard and then kind of ushered me off stage. And then they did the
Oh
first half.
gosh.
I went to sat in the corner and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I was so embarrassed. Anyway, they came off after the halftime show. They came down and then they asked me like, Chai, what happened? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, sorry. I don't know what came over me, but I'm good now. I calmed myself down.
Yeah.
And they were like, you don't have to go on. Don't worry. You're done. It's fine. And I was like, no, no, no. I have to get back up there. They're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 Chai, you're good. Trust me, you're fine. I was
Yeah.
like, no, no, no. Trust me,
You're
I have
good.
to get back up there for my own confidence. I have
Yeah.
to. I'm good now. That's out of the way. I'm good. So they're like, are you sure? I'm like, yep. So in the second half, I went back up and I said, I'm so sorry, guys. This is my first time. I just had a bit of a moment. But anyway, let's continue with it. And then I finished the show. So I actually got back up and did it. But um, yeah, that was a real kind of moment for me where I was not myself.
You were brave enough to go back on there because you needed to prove to yourself, like, no, I can do this. And you did it. And I bet that felt really good.
I needed to do that.
Yeah.
It taught that was a really crucial thing for me um to prove to myself that even though it was scary and I failed, doesn't matter. Get back up and do it again. And
Yeah.
and and I think that's kind of how I live my life now going forward from that
Yeah.
point to now. I fail and even some of the auditions that I do, I'm like, oh my God, that was rubbish. What the hell was that? But I still do it anyway, you know?
Yeah. Your success has been tied to this, like, it sounds like growth mindset. Like you don't let your failures um, paralyze you. Have you always had that, or has it been instilled in you by mentors?
I've never had a mentor. I always wanted one actually. I thought about it recently. I was like, oh, I want to get a mentor like a life coach
Mm.
for the next step and where to go to from here.
Were you like that when you were a kiddo? Was it part of your like temperament?
I mean, I was shy. I
Mm.
was pretty shy, but I was a very athletic kid, so I was quite sporty. I would try every sport under the sun, and I just loved getting out and doing physical activity. So I think physical activity really helped with my
Mm.
self-confidence, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really know. I haven't really thought about it. Because even that moment where I failed and then I was like, no, I have to get back up and do it again, even if I get laughed at it or whatever. That comes from somewhere, but I don't. I mean, maybe it's even just watching my single mother,
Mm.
accomplish a lot just with what she's given. So maybe just seeing and watching her do things in her life really kind of gave me permission. I'd say mum as a role model would be one of them.
She seems like an amazing person.
She is. She really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to tackle that speech, my God, I
Yeah.
that's a good example, because she's petrified, and I'm talking like petrified of public speaking. And for her to just get up and actually fucking nail it, like I can't even tell you enough how comfortable she looked talking in front of everyone and was just, she had a couple of jokes written down and
Oh,
she like nailed them. She nailed the
that's
delivery. And I
awesome.
was just like,
Wow.
she was bullshitting me the whole time. There's no way she was not confident. What the hell?
That is so awesome. And it's hard to pull off jokes in public speaking. So that's
Hard,
yeah.
hard. I had to do a film last year. It was where I played the comedy relief, the comic relief character. And my God, I was petrified that whole time. I was like, I am so out of my depth. I'm so not funny. But the whole point of comedy isn't like you're trying to be funny. It's like you're highlighting the ridiculous context by just being truthful. So that's why got the character. The director said to me that every other actor was reading as Shaggy Do. They were trying to be fucking stoner and funny, and I came in as a genuine trying hard to impress
Yeah.
and got him laughing because I was trying hard to be truthful, and
Yeah.
that's what was funny, not trying
Mm.
to be funny. And so he
Yeah.
ended up giving me a job. And I had a moment too in that film where I was about to have like a anxiety attack, a panic attack, and it was my first scene where there's like the introduction of my character where you see him talk for the first time, and there's a bit of there's a bit of space to improv and I'm talking opposite people like Keegan-Michael Key and Mark Wahlberg. So have
What?
these big, heavy hitting actors in the scene, and Mark is so good at improv. I actually forgot. He's so comfortable and so just confident and just on top of he's just a is a very professional actor. Is a true professional. And so it was my first introduction scene. They called 10 minutes, the 10-minute mark. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such a fraud. I'm so fake. These guys are like incredible and now they're gonna get me in and I'm gonna suck. And so I started like spiraling. And then I took myself out of it. I actually was like, don't. fuck this up, Charlie. Do not fuck this up, please. Let's just focus on the job. And I started talking to myself where I was like, okay, let's think about the job. What's the scene? I started thinking about the scene, thinking about certain things I could do in the scene. Oh, that would be kind of funny. That would be really funny. And then before I knew it, I forgot that I was anxious because I was focusing on the job more than anything, than
Yeah.
focusing on myself. And then they called me in and the anxiety came back in and I was like, oh, here it is. But then because I was out of it, I talked myself out of it already, and then talking myself out of it for the second time, it didn't have as strong of an effect. So
Hmm.
when I went in to do it, I was just focused on the job and yeah, it was fine. I
Wow.
had a great time.
That's awesome that you were able to like talk yourself down, ground yourself, and just do it. So it sounds like you still have these moments where you feel anxious. Is this your process for like getting you centered again?
I think well, it is now. Like it worked. I think because I had those moments before where I failed and then I was like, fuck it, go and do it again. Doesn't matter. It that gave me permission to fail, where I was like, doesn't matter, even if I fail, fuck it, just do it again. And
Yeah.
because it's digital, it's not film. Even if it was film, doesn't matter. You just film it again.
Yeah.
Uh, so mm, there was really no pressure at all. It was all in my mind because I had worked on it for such a long time. I think it really helped me. Uh, it really helped me overcome some of those hurdles
Yeah.
where I I mean I can't speak for other people, but I was telling some of my friends in that situation and they'd be like, "Oh my God, I'd be fucked," right? Because
Yeah, high pressure
it is a high pressure, it is seemingly a high pressure situation, but it's not as high pressure as you think.
because you can always do it over. But the fact that Mark Wahlberg and, were there
Yeah.
probably added to it.
Well,
Um,
yeah, because they're so incredibly talented. So you're like trying to live up to their name, to their standard. And you don't have to because that's them. You don't
yeah,
have to be them. In fact, it's better to just be what you are and listen and respond.
yeah,
It takes the pressure off.
right.
And then when because I did a little bit of study into comedy like leading up to that point. So I knew a lot about comedy from just reading up about it. Uh, there was something really relaxing in knowing that you don't have to be funny to be funny. You just have to s- to stay true, like tell the truth.
Yeah,
And when you tell the truth and you're relaxed in it, and there is a little bit of a rhythm, there's like techniques to it, but if you have a little bit of a rhythm, you find a rhythm and you're relaxed and you tell the truth, it's always going to be funny, especially if the context calls for it. I didn't have to be anything that I wasn't to succeed.
is there anything else that wanted to share?
Like advice for anyone that wants to get into acting, maybe. I don't know, like
Yeah, advice for someone, yeah, who wants to get into acting or be better at public speaking.
give yourself permission to fail and then learn from it and then do it again. Because you actually only learn from it. You only learn from that. You can't learn from just reading it. You have to
Mm,
get in and do it. And then if it
yeah,
doesn't work, that's the whole point of it.
yeah.
Like in order to progress, you have to fail.
Thank you so much for watching. I've been wanting to bring more conversations with people from the arts and humanities to this channel because hearing how different disciplines shape the human experience is so valuable. Talking with Chai gave me fresh insight into both acting and life, and I hope it did the same for you. Huge thanks to Chai for sharing his journey, and thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.